Hello, everyone. My name is Antonia Levine. I am the Executive Director of the National Council of Jewish Women San Francisco, the host, the organizer of this event. I am also treasurer, proudly, of the International Alliance of Women. Thank you for joining us for this inspiring event. I just want to say a few words about the organizer. The National Council of Jewish Women is the oldest women social justice organization in the United States. It's an international network of organizations all over the world. And the National Council of Jewish Women is, as I mentioned, social justice organization addressing contemporary issues all over the world. Each of our sections is its own entity, independently incorporated, focusing on those issues that are important for the community of its headquarters. The San Francisco section is over 120 years old. We have a glorious history, and we are very pleased that we can address today very important issue which affects all of us in a way, and present an incredible team of young women leaders working to advance peace in Middle East, despite all the challenges. And as one of us just a few minutes ago said, we believe that women are the best messengers for peace. And we have a lot of hope in this group, invested in this group, and I cannot wait to hear their presentations. But first, I'm pleased to give the floor to one of the co-sponsors of this event, the president of the United Nations Association USA San Francisco chapter, Ashley Ravici. Ashley, thank you for being today with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Antonia. My name is Ashley Raviche, and as you mentioned, I am the president of the United Nations Association USA San Francisco and a co-sponsor of today's panel. UNA San Francisco is a membership organization, and we were born out. There we go. We are a membership organization, and we are born out of global conflicts and structured by the consensus of the UN Charter. Since 1943, UNA San Francisco has been dedicated to inform, inspire, and mobilize the American people to secure global peace and security through constructive dialogue, cultural diplomacy, and we center this effort on the framework of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We believe that everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. Thank you to the sponsors, San Francisco Collaborative Against Human Trafficking, the International Alliance of Women, the National Council of Jewish Women, for this opportunity to provide a critical reflection of women's experiences in this parallel event. Young women's leadership in shaping a peaceful Middle East together, for whom we are all gathered to hear a call for coexistence, respect for human dignity, and freedom as a means of attaining sustainable peace. I stand in solidarity with you all. It has been 25 years since the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, Women, Peace, and Security, recognized the power of women to shape sustained peace, noting that women's participation and protection are critical for the effective conflict prevention and resolution, critical for peace building and critical for peacekeeping efforts. I am here to build on this promise today and cannot understate the urgency and importance of women's engagement and leadership in multilateral peace and security efforts, which include recognizing and responding to sexual violence as a weapon of war. The widespread violation of women's human rights continues to cause devastation and spark new investigations into incidents of sexual-based violence in the region. And before I move on, I call on the UN Secretariat General to both acknowledge and address these atrocities and non-negotiable standards. The UNA San Francisco supports more inclusive approaches for women to participate in the formal participation of peace building, in addition to the community-driven approach and cultural diplomacy, exchanges that occur in all of our collective actions, our storytelling, our trust building at conferences such as this, the 69th session on the status of women, and through dialogues such as today's panels. With 15% of women in this world, or approximately 600 million, living, working, and raising families within 30 miles of armed conflicts, women are crucial to addressing the underlying challenges we face to achieve lasting peace. The cross-community peace building from regional women's groups and panelists represent a critical resource to advance peace in the MENA region. We know that peace processes that involve women are more resilient. We know that gender equal societies are less likely to experience conflict. And women leaders advance vital peace building work at the international, national, and grassroots levels. I have hope for a future where cultural diplomacy yields a shift towards inclusive approaches centered in trust. I have hope where the safety and agency of women and girls remains a consistent priority, regardless of crisis, conflict, war, or disaster. Rather than our contributions going unrecognized in the formal negotiations and siloed, women shall be integrated into the conflict prevention, and our collective actions will build confidence in the peace process, allowing resilience to bloom. I have hope for a future where trust, rather than exploits of power, becomes the currency of peace, and that cooperation creates the economic conditions necessary to rebuild for a better tomorrow, because the secret to happiness is freedom, and the secret to freedom is the courage to act. I entrust the future to the women leaders who will speak on this panel to ignite our hope. Thank you, Fatima, Miriam, Elisa, Dahlia, and Antonia for creating a mind frame that moves beyond governments, borders, and conflicts, and allows women to lead us toward the shared goal of peace and prosperity. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you so much, Ashley. What a great introduction to our subject. And thank you for being part of this event. I also want to acknowledge that today with us are the president and the vice president of the International Alliance of Women, Alison Brown, and also Sibyl. You can wave to let us know who you are. And now I'm looking for the option to unpin, and I'm not finding it. Okay. Give me just a second. And I'm now pleased to invite Alisa Anis to moderate the rest of our session. Alisa, um, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Antonia. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you so very much to everyone for coming and joining this morning. We really appreciate it. My name is Elisa Anis, and I'm the Holocaust Education Program Manager of Sharaka. Sharaka was a movement that started right after the Abraham Accords, really with the intention of building bridges, of creating connections, and of breaking down the stereotypes that existed in the region for so very long. We allowed people from Israel, from Morocco, from Bahrain, and from the UAE to get to know each other, to celebrate each other's traditions together, and to go experience the other countries. We brought delegations from the Arab world to Israel to meet with Israelis, to meet with the Arabs, to meet with Christians, to meet with people from all over Israeli life, to understand what this country is and far beyond what they used to see on the news in their countries as well. And we brought delegations of Israelis to the Arab world to do iftar together during Ramadan and to really understand about a culture that for so long they didn't think they would be able to learn about. The Abraham Accords was a signature on a piece of paper between government, but Sharaka came in as a movement to bring together the people, to do something more, and to make sure that all over the world are connected. And since we've been founded, we work together with the whole Middle East, with the moderates for the region, with people that are dedicated to fighting for a better future, with people that are so powerful and that share this message within their networks, whether it's students, journalists, student leaders. And specifically within women, we see that it's a growing amount of people from the Arab world that are using their voice and that are saying this is not okay. We stand against this, and that are joining Sharaka programs. Around 70% of what we do is delegations to Israel from the Arab world, delegations from the Arab world to Israel, and joint delegations together to Poland and Germany to learn about the Holocaust. We really believe that by learning about history from our different ethnicities and really to understand how an ideology spreads across nations, we can then walk forward. We can walk forward, each of us, for our own societies, for our own communities, but create a better future by learning about the past and how things developed in the past as well. And around 30% of what we do is what we're doing right now. It's sharing this message with communities, with people that have influential communities themselves, that they can then pass this message on, a message that's really so simple. Bring 5 people together with different backgrounds, with different stories, with different religions, but bringing them together to unite other people, to say we may not agree on everything, but that's okay. We are here to work together. We're here to create a better future. We're here to create a better region. And each one of us here today that's going to be on the panel shares their own story, is from their different place, is from a different place in the Middle East. And yet we're here to share this message of hope, of coexistence, and of collaboration. And if there's anything that I really want you to leave with from this session right now, it's to speak and have the conversations that you didn't think were possible. Because in order to make a difference in the world, and in order to really connect with people that you didn't really know, you have to sit with people that are different than your regular network. And it's so inspiring to me every time we manage to speak to people from around the world, that people come up to us after and they're like, wow, this is the first time in our lives we've managed to have an Israeli, a Lebanese, an Egyptian, and a Bahraini on a panel together. And it may be the first time in your life, but I really, really hope that it's not the last. So thank you very much to all of you for joining. And now if Mariam, Dalia, Fatma, if you can each just introduce yourselves, share a little bit of your story, and then we'll dive into the panel.
Okay, I will start. So I'm Mariam. I'm a Lebanese Israeli. Currently, I live in Israel, but I was born in Lebanon and my family was exiled in 2000. Right now, I am completing my master's in political communications at Bar-Ilan University here in Tel Aviv. And I'm working at the spokesperson office of my university. And also I am a content creator, promoting peace between Israel and Lebanon, and also educating Israelis and Lebanese and the Arab world about each other culturally, religiously, and especially about the Christian minority here in the Middle East. And I'm very honored and very happy to be here with you.
Fatma, if you want to go next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fatima Al Harbi. I'm from Bahrain. Very honored and happy to be amongst powerful, amazing women. I work with Sharaka as Gulf Affairs Director. I'm a writer. I write novel love stories to use them as a channel to highlight women issues that I care about, like mental health, women empowerment, and so on. And I'm an athletics champion in long and triple jump. I still have the record in Bahrain and the Gulf area. Thank you. And I've been known as the first citizen to publicly visit Israel after the Abraham Accord. And since then, I've been advocating for peace and becoming the bridge between Muslims and Arabs and Israel. Happy to be here.
Dalia?
My turn now. Yeah, first, I would like to thank Sharaka and our friends at the National Council of Women, National Jewish Council of Women. Antonia, thank you so much for making this happen. Okay, my name is Dalia Ziada. I'm an Egyptian activist for peace and human rights. And also, I led several think tanks, and I was on the board member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Egypt's National Council for Women. Women's rights has always been like a big passion for me, and I always believe that women are the main channel for making peace happen. I was very active almost all my adult life on working on Muslim Jewish dialogue and Arab Israeli dialogue until eventually this led to me being pushed out of my homeland, Egypt. Right now, I live in the United States, but I'm still continuing the fight for peace with the hope that we can influence the conversation around what's happening in our region. I spoke at several events with Sharaka, and I'm enjoying it very much. Like the fact that, I mean, despite everything that's going on, we still can come together, do things together. This is so unique.
It really is. And I think one of the amazing things about Chiraka is the impact that we managed to make beyond the impact that we make on the delegations themselves. And Fatima, I want you to kind of share a little bit about your story with this, how you ended up joining this first delegation to Israel, and also the impact that you managed to make within your own community in Bahrain. Because when you first came here, you were the first, I'm going to let you share as well, but you came here on a delegation and it changed your perception, and you managed to share this message also with your community and using social media as well.
Of course. So my story started with a coincidence, if I may say, but also with a lot of curiosity. I've always grown up wanting to know more. As a writer, always there is different narratives of things that if you hear it from different people, it's different. So I always wanted to know more and wanted to meet people, real people. I didn't want to hear about it from the media. I didn't want to hear it from other people. Although I didn't know anyone that went to Israel, but I wanted to know more. So when Sharaka was established, Abraham Accord was just signed. 2 months later, the Abraham Accord was signed in September. I think it was by the end of November that we got to visit Israel. I was immediately known as the first citizen that non-official that visited Israel, and I thank COVID for that honor. But no one wanted to travel anywhere, and especially Israel had really strict laws and of people getting in and out the country. But of course, this honor brought a lot of backlash because I was in the spotlight. A lot of people watched that journey firsthand. But I only wanted to meet people. The moment we went to Israel, we went to Tel Aviv as a tourist, just exploring the area, walking around with my friends in the delegation. Immediately, we get recognized as an Arab and Muslim because of my hijab and the traditional clothing. So it's very obvious. A complete stranger approached us and said, "Can I ask you a question?" And I thought immediately it will be something hateful. He will tell me, "You're not welcomed. What are you doing here? We hate Muslims." But he said, "Where are you from? Are you from Bahrain or the UAE?" And we said, Bahrain, UAE. And he said, welcome. We've been waiting to have peace with Arabs for a long time. Of course, he knew because of all the fuss and the media talking about the Abraham Accord, a historical event happening in our days. So he was so happy seeing Arabs being there and wanting to have a connection with people there. So if you tell me this 10, 15 years ago that I would be welcomed by a stranger in the middle of the street, welcoming me to the country, I wouldn't believe you. But that was the reality. And since then, I met more people. I met Israeli Arabs, Israeli Jews, Christians, Druze. I met Palestinians. So all of them shared one message that was shared with all of them, that they all said, we want peace. This narrative we don't get to hear back home because we only hear about it as a place of conflict, place of hate, people wanting to kill each other. Because as we know, extremism and radicalism is very loud and empowered, unfortunately. So I found myself obligated to share that message back home. Of course, a lot of people didn't want me to share that, wanted the extremism and hate, but that only made me stronger and more louder to share this message. And since then, I've been advocating for peace and becoming the bridge between my community and the people in that land. And I think firsthand, we see the impact of our work and the Abraham Accord and through the steps that the government also does in the countries, that people actually changing hearts and minds. And one of the stories that I always love to share is one of my best friends. She's a very radicalized, extreme religious Muslim. She grew up praying 5 times a day, saying, may God destroy Israel and curse the Jews. And when I got into this job, all of us as an Arab and Muslims also working like me and Dalia and other people doing this job, we lost a lot of people and friends because of that. So I didn't lose her as a friend. She kept her distance, but she didn't ask any questions. And as I don't like people spoon feeding me any information, I didn't do it to her. But 2 years later, we decided to host the first delegation of Israelis in Bahrain, and we decided to bring Israeli Arabs because we thought it's the best way to bring people together, because at the end, Muslims, some were Christians, and they speak the same language. They speak Arabic, so it's easy for people to connect to them. 2 of the delegates were Jews. So she started asking me question, what are you doing? Where are you going? Where are you taking them? And I said, listen, I'm not going to spoon feed you any information. Come and meet them. And she was like, no, but I don't want to be seen with Israelis. I said, listen, we're in Manama. We're not in Tel Aviv. Worst case scenario, you will be seen with more Bahrainis than Israelis. I convinced her with good food and a fancy restaurant, and she came for the sake of food. And we had a huge table for more than 50 people coming. Most of them were Bahrainis, of course, to meet the delegates. And by a coincidence, I didn't plan that, she sat next to the Jews, 2 of the Jews of the delegation. And she started talking with them the whole night. And by the end of the night, she came running to me and she was like, Fatima, listen. I was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she was like, I can't believe that, but they're just like us. I was like, what did you expect? Of course, they're just like us. They're normal human beings. But she said, no, but I mean, our values are similar. Our religion are very similar. Their shared texts from their religious books are very similar to the Quran. Even they look like us. They have dark hair, dark eyes. They look like us. And I was like, they're Middle Eastern. They're just 2 hours by flight from Bahrain. She was like, I didn't think they're real Middle Eastern. I thought I'll see Europeans with European values and very different from us. So since that day, I always make fun of her that she's a recovered anti-Semite person. She stopped saying that prayer, and she became an advocate of that relations. Because she got to know the other, she got to build the bridge between her and them. And since then, she became an advocate of actually having peace in the Middle East. And that's the impact we see every day on a personal level, but also on the project level within Sharaka.
Thank you so much, Fatma, for sharing. It's such an inspiring story. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you come to Israel, there's many different minorities. And Mariam, I'd really, really appreciate it if you can share, you were born in Lebanon to a Christian family, and then you moved to Israel at a young age. Israel took you in, you and your family, and you lived here as a Christian, as a minority group. And if you could please share with everyone here what that was like, your experience, and also how your personal story encouraged you to use social media and to advocate and to share your story in Arabic to the rest of the world.
Yes. So, in order to tell my story, actually, I need to take you really quickly into a historical lesson, just to give you the context. So, in the 70s, the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, was kicked out of Jordan because they tried to overthrow the king to Lebanon. And arriving to Lebanon, they changed the population actually from a Christian majority to Muslim majority, and they created a country within a country to not only fight Israel, but also fight Lebanese people on their land. So a civil war, brutal civil war, happened in Lebanon for many years. And for me and my family in the southern part of Lebanon, our area was called no man's land because we didn't have the government protecting us. We had the government very deep into a civil war up north, and we needed help because these terrorist organizations were fighting us, killing us, slaughtering us literally in our land. And in this way, the Southern Lebanese Army was created, where my dad was a commander for more than 20 years, with the help of Israel giving us arms in order to be able to protect ourselves. And in 2000, when Israel withdrew from Southern Lebanon, I was 5 years old. Hezbollah, another terrorist organization, an Iranian proxy, gave us two options. Either we stay and get killed in our beds, or we leave Lebanon and never come back. So, of course, we had to run away to the closest border, which was Israel, which were also our allies. I was 5 years old back then. I still remember that night. And my community actually managed not only to integrate in the Israeli society, but also to preserve our own Lebanese identity. So I very much grew up as a Lebanese Israeli. It's very interesting to understand both points of views, speaking two languages, Hebrew and Arabic, and my Hebrew is much stronger than my Arabic. I grew up celebrating with my Jewish friends at school, Hanukkah and Passover, and then Christmas at home and Easter. I taught my fellows, my friends, the magic of the Lebanese cuisine, which in my opinion, best cuisine in the world. And I taught them what's real hummus is. And it's not the one you buy in stores, with all due respect. So, having this very, very unique point of view of understanding the beauty of the multiculturalism we have in the Middle East, understanding the Middle East, being able to really see different cultures and different backgrounds of people, it just allowed me to have a very unique point of view on the Middle East. And I just knew from a very young age that I am a bridge between people, between countries, between nations, between religions. And as Fatma said, I am a messenger of peace. And the more I grew up, I understand the importance of this, the importance of my voice in showing how personally I live, and that we actually can do it. Because sometimes, as again Fatma said, the radicalism and extremism is louder, but the majority of people are moderate, and unfortunately our voice is not loud enough. So I decided to become this voice, and that's how I use it through social media in, creating videos that just explain to people the similarities that we have and the beauty that we have here, and, bringing interesting voices. And when the Abraham's Accords were signed, I was hopeful, like most of us here in the Middle East, that wow, we have peace agreements with the Gulf countries, with the other side of the Middle East, because even for me as an Arabic speaker, we were cut out of the Middle East because as Israeli, no one is allowed to talk to us. We are not allowed to talk to anyone. Everyone's afraid. So when, I met Fatma for the first time, I couldn't believe how similar we are, even though we look totally different than each other. And we grew up in totally two different parts of the spectrum, but we discovered that we have the same values. We had the same dreams in life. We like to do mostly the same things. We like to travel, we like to read. We had the same dreams. And the most important part is I understand that there are people just like me that want peace in the Middle East. And it's not like I used to see in the media that I used to consume, that Muslims want to kill us, and the very radical voice we hear most of the time, unfortunately. And again, it opened my eyes and my understanding of the other side of the Middle East. And since then, with Sharaka, of course, and thanks to social media, I'm able to really have conversations with so many people in the Middle East, and I understand more and more how our voices are not only important, but also crucial for the Middle East, to show people, even in the Middle East, that we can be friends. And people always so surprised and shocked, and they write me comments, oh, you're friend with the Bahraini, you're friend with the hijabi woman. Like they see it as the most shocking thing. And I'm like, yes, guys, I am. We live in the same place, and, we speak the same language, and so on. And even in Israel, educating Israelis and educating Lebanese on each other, because hopefully we will have peace one day. It's just crucial, and I truly believe in this, and I truly believe also in our role as women to do it, because we are softer and we have a different approach, and it's easier, in my opinion, obviously, to bridge and bring people together. So that's what I believe in, and that's my message.
Thank you so very much, Mariam, for sharing that with us. It really is truly inspiring. And I really just want to share with you a little bit about my story with Sharaka, because I've been involved in Holocaust education for quite a few years. And last year in April, I got an invite to join a group of 50 Muslims to March of the Living, which is the day that the Jewish community around the world commemorate what happened during the Holocaust in Auschwitz-Birkenau. And I landed there, and normally I get so emotional. Normally I lose hope in the world. And I live in Israel, and it was a time of so many, emotions. And I was like, gonna go on this trip, and I thought that I would get emotional again, like I always do when I'm visiting, Poland and Germany and learning about the Holocaust. And yet I look around me and I see 50 people from around the Middle East who are risking so much to be in that very spot, to learn about the past, and that are taking all this knowledge back to their countries, and they're passing on to their societies and to their communities a very simple message, which is we want to learn about the past in order for us to be able to create a better future. And within a few moments, I was just like, wow, this is the most hope I've ever seen in the world. And if these people around me, if these Muslim people around me are risking so very much to do this, who am I to not join? And ever since then, I've been part of Sharaka. And I think, Dalia, you're one of those people that in that moment, when I was in Poland and Germany, whilst you weren't there, but your story is also a story that I'm like, you're risking so much to share this story, to be a moderate voice, and to use this voice to advocate. And so I'd really appreciate it if you could share with us a little bit about what prompted you to start being vocal, to start being a moderate voice, and what your feelings are also about the future, both in your country, in Egypt, and if you can speak a little bit about the future of the Abraham Accords.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alyssa. Actually, I will take from what Fatima and Mariam said to start with, because actually one of the challenges we were facing in the region, or one of the things that actually the extremists were betting on, is that Arabs in Israel will turn against Israel. And it's interesting that we saw actually the opposite has happened, which shows us that it's not impossible for Arabs and Jews to really live together if they are under like the perfect democratic system. But this is something, you know, we can discuss in detail if you like after, you know, I tell you very quickly about my story. So I, like, if you see me when I was like 18 years and under, I was very much like all the young people you're seeing here at your American campuses who are very passionate about, like, you know, the Palestinian cause, thinking that Israel is the enemy and the Jewish people are like our enemies as Muslims. I grew up in Egypt. Our education system was just telling me that our textbooks, every year we would celebrate the Yom Kippur War with Israel as a victory, as a national day. In Egypt, it's the National Day of the Armed Forces, of celebrating the Egyptian Armed Forces. I was born many years after the peace treaty was signed between Egypt and Israel. Despite that, I have not seen in my entire life anyone speaking positively about the peace treaty, no celebrations about the peace treaty. In our mosques, on every Friday sermon, as Fatima was just mentioning about her friend who was you know, cursing the Jews in every prayer every day. Actually, every Friday in Egypt, like when you go to the Friday sermons, every Friday there is a stable prayer that is actually a curse of the Jews and curse of Israel. And it's like said in public. It's like something, you know, that everyone agrees on. So growing up in this very hostile environment, this very conservative environment in Egypt that is so hostile toward this Israel, I was like everyone else. And when I was like a freshman student, or a fresh woman, as I like to call it, in university, my first year in Cairo, it was around the time of the Second Intifada. And like, it was very natural for me to join the protests that were happening on campus against Israel. I mean, coming from this background. Until one day, while the protests were happening, the people organizing the protests, whom later on I knew are the Muslim Brotherhood, they decided to burn some flags. So they started first by burning the Israeli flag, which made sense. At the end of the day, we're protesting against Israel. Then they burned the American flag, which did not make much sense to me at that time. I couldn't understand why America, that exists like tens of thousands of miles away, by burning its flag or showing hostility to America, this will make the situation in Gaza better. And then the third flag they burned was my own flag, the Egyptian flag. And if you know Egypt well, our nationalist sentiments are very strong. So this moment created kind of a cognitive dissonance for me. It made me feel like something is wrong. These cannot be good people claiming that they are fighting for a noble cause, like the Palestinian cause, or a humanitarian cause in Gaza or so. And at the same time, be burning my flag. Something's wrong. So I took a step back and I decided to educate myself about Israel, about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the geopolitics of the Middle East, about Judaism as a religion. And to be honest, as a religious woman myself, I fell in love with Judaism. It's a great religion. And then it has become my passion since then to fight against radical Islamists. I completely changed it. It has become my passion to fight against radical Islamists, to work on Muslim-Jewish dialogue, Arab-Israeli dialogue, and throughout my life, and also, I mean, working on analyzing the geopolitics of the Middle East, studying the Middle East and the politics of the region and so. So I would say over like most of my adult life, yes, this journey was amazing, was very successful. We had great moments of success, like, for example, the Abraham Accords, renewed cooperation, or the warming of peace between Egypt and Israel in the past 10 years or so before October 7. So everything for me was great. I was leading a think tank in Egypt. I was like member of the National Council for Women in Egypt. My life was perfect until October 7 happened. And well, I was invited to comment in the media, as I usually do, on the current situation in the region. And of course, speaking to Arabic audience, if you don't know, the Arabic audience or the Arabs in general, in majority, they were celebrating October 7th. They were very excited that the Jewish people were brutalized and killed in such a horrible way on October 7th. So speaking to this audience, I was asked, like by the host, a very clear question about, what you think about the war in Gaza. It was just about to start, and the October 7 attack. And I said that because at that time I also watched the videos of what really happened on October 7 that were not broadcast in our Arab media. So I said the truth. I said, I believe what happened on October 7 is an act of terrorism that cannot be justified in any way. I mean, attacking people in their homes, in their pajamas, cannot be justified in any way. And Hamas is a terrorist organization. And I said, if Arab leaders are thinking straight, they should be backing Israel in this war, and that Israel, like any other country in the world, has to defend itself when it is attacked by a terrorist organization. I mean, what I said sounds logical, but imagine saying this to an Arab audience who are glorifying Hamas and looking at them as superheroes because they killed children and kidnapped women and attacked people in their homes. So saying this, unfortunately, stirred a terrible backlash against me, started first by radical Islamists, sending me death threats first, and then a group of them, the Salafists. They are very close to the jihadists, but I mean, just a little bit less violence than them. They went to my family house looking for me. My mother met with them, and when she called me, I was in my apartment in another neighborhood. They wanted to punish me for not being a good Muslim. Like, how come I defend Israel? For them, I am not a Muslim anymore, and thus they can just shed my blood. And so as soon as I heard about the news, I contacted the security authorities in Egypt. And this honestly was the most shocking part for me. I called them thinking that, they will immediately protect me when they know that my life is threatened by the same radical Islamists they are trying to suppress. They are trying to fight against. And because I spoke against Hamas, which in my perception, the Egyptian leadership is also against Hamas, and they have partnership with Israel. They have a peace treaty with Israel. But to my shock, the senior officer I spoke to, he said to me, he refused to help me and said, we have nothing to do with you anymore. You go face your fate. And when I asked him why he's doing that, he said, because you said you support Israel. So for him, this was a reason good enough to let me being killed. The next morning, I found that, 4 lawyers, one of them is a member of parliament, and all of them are very close to the Egyptian leadership. They filed legal claims against me, accusing me of spying for the Israeli Mossad, threatening Egypt's national security, inciting war crimes in Gaza, committing high treason. Like, look at me. Imagine I did all of that just without moving anything. So it was terrible. I had to move very quickly, or had to run very quickly outside of Egypt. Thank God I was so blessed. I had many friends here in the United States. I have many friends here in the United States because I studied here and I worked here in the past also. So they acted very, very quickly. Also friends from Israel, they came together, and Europe, they were amazing. And within only 5 hours, they were able to get me out of Egypt before it was too late. And here I am. I came here to the US thinking that, I left the bad guys behind. The Islamists are there. They are not there. They are not here. The radicals are there. They are not here, and I'm coming to the free land. Unfortunately, I found that the bad guys are here too. So right now, what I'm doing is that I'm fighting them here as well. I'm making speaking tours and lecturing on the Middle East at American campuses. So far, I visited more than 35 campuses with Hilal International and other organizations as well, like AGC and the IEC. And I'm just trying to give them the true story about the Middle East, about what's happening there. And also recently I started to learn about Sharaka. I knew about them, of course, from long time ago, but I'm so happy that recently we started also to partner together on making things, making a difference in the discourse in the United States and hopefully beyond as well. So yeah, this is basically my story. It's not depressing because I mean it has a happy ending. I'm not in jail. I'm not killed. So I'm still alive and still fighting.
Thank you so very much, Dalia, for sharing. And thank you to Fatma and for Mariam for also kind of sharing your stories and sharing your wisdom with us. And I really do believe that it's voices like this and people that are really just using that voice to speak out against something that is going to create the difference for the future. And that is going to bring together more and more moderates in the region, that is going to allow us to have and to enhance dialogue with each other. And I think when we look into the future, and I want to open this question really to whichever one of you want to jump on it, but I just want your opinions on the future of the Abraham Accords. And the future of the Abraham Accords, Mariam, if you want to mention a little bit about how you think and if you think Lebanon will be able to one day join, and Dalia, what about with Egypt and with Saudi Arabia? I would love your insights, and Fatima about the Gulf region.
Yeah, I'll start by saying that after the 7th of October, unfortunately, the 8th of October, Hezbollah took Lebanon. Hezbollah is not the Lebanese government. He's, as I said before, terrorist organization operating within Lebanon. It started a war on Israel without the approval or without even asking the Lebanese government. It took a whole country into a war. And I'm very happy to say that it lost, like Hezbollah lost big time. And we see it right now with the new government that was established in Lebanon. A new president was elected after 2 years of, electoral presidency vacancy in the country. So we didn't have, like Lebanese people didn't have president for 2 years and even more. And we see the government that was created without the influence of Hezbollah, or even if they had an influence, it was very, very weak influence. And right now the conversation in Lebanon, which never happened before and we never heard it before. It was a taboo to even talk about Israel or say peace with Israel. And right now we are hearing about, conversations, a direct conversation between the Lebanese government and the Israeli government, which never happened before. So me personally, I am very, very optimistic. And I do feel that with the right leadership and the right, international support, obviously USA support, Saudi Arabia support, and so on, we will be able in a year or two to actually have a peace treaty between Israel and Lebanon.
In my opinion, I'll be short because I'm outside at the moment in George Mason University, but I think I'm very optimistic too. And I think although 7th of October was something unfortunate that harmed innocent people, but I think what happened later and what we saw later opened so many moderate Muslims' eyes that they actually think now more than ever that the Abraham Accord is important and we actually need to expand it. And I think the major thing that will change everything would be when Saudi Arabia joins. And I think when Saudi Arabia joins, so many countries will actually follow. And that's the only way forward, that if more people join the Abraham Accord, that's the way for peace for everyone, not only for Israelis and Palestinians.
Thank you. And Dalia?
Yeah, I would actually add to. I totally agree with what Mariam and Fatima said. I would just add that it's true. The Abraham Accords are perhaps the best thing that happened in the past few years in terms of Arab-Israel relationship, because it took the focus from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as being the main topic in the Middle East into showing that it is possible for Arabs and Israelis to work together, even if the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not resolved yet. So it undermined the big problem of Arabs and Israelis clashing together over the Israeli-Palestinian or the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I think the next step for the Abraham Accords, like to succeed and to continue to hold despite everything we're facing today, is to focus on the religious aspect of the accord, how to make it also lead to some kind of peace between Muslims and Jews. Because unfortunately, October 7 and its consequences and the war in Gaza and the horrible mobilization that's happening around the world that created kind of a socio-political crisis, if we can say, in Europe and the United States around the issue of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has led to polarization between Muslims and Jews. So I hope the Abraham Accords can search into the next level of how to show the world the same way we've shown the world that Arabs and Israelis can still work together despite the very limited Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's limited to a very, very specific territory, honestly, that also Muslims and Jews can get over that and work together despite this conflict. It shouldn't be the center of their relationship, actually. So this is the next challenge, and I think it will be resolved if a country as big as Saudi Arabia normalizes relations with Israel. Saudi Arabia is not only an Arab country or maybe the most powerful Gulf country, but actually it is the place where Islam has started. And the Wahhabist movement, which is also kind of a religious extremist movement that took over Saudi Arabia for years, and currently the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been fighting against since he took power. It took anti-Semitism and took hatred towards Israel as one of the central ideologies or one of the central concepts of its ideology. So now, I mean, I think there is bigger chance for Saudi Arabia to normalize with Israel, but I think the countries that is even closer to, and if it happens, of course, it will be a game changer on many levels. But I think the countries that is much closer to do this now is perhaps Lebanon, given, I mean, the war on Hezbollah and the success of Israel in or weakening, let's say, Hezbollah for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. And I think after we finish speaking about the future, I think it's really time to open it up for questions from anyone here. A few people wrote questions in the chat, but if you have a question, you can just feel free to unmute yourself and also ask.
I can see there is a question about Sharaka. Maybe you answer, Alisa. Does Sharaka have any aims of peace with Palestinians?
Yes. So I see this question. I will start answering, and Fatima, if you want to jump in at the end. Unfortunately, in the past, we've had many Palestinians that have been part of our programs. And when they went back to the West Bank or wherever they were from, they were victimized within people from their own communities. We've had a participant whose car was set on fire because then he was just simply part of one of our programs to Poland and Germany. And we are open as an organization to really work with as many people that are willing to sit at the table, but we also care about the safety of the participants that we work with. And there's quite a few participants that we kind of have to, unfortunately, decline from participating in some of our programs out of fear for themselves and their families as well. And when it comes to Palestinians particularly, they would see this as being part of the Zionist regime, and they would, target the people because they are talking simply to people from Israel as well.
Okay, may I take the next? Sorry, Alice, I'm like jumping on you, but actually there's a very interesting question in the chat. I would love to answer it. It's by Dr. Deborah
Stoffen. Correct.
Yeah.
What suggestions do you have for engaging with radicalized Palestinian women in Gaza who have been indoctrinated for generations by Hamas and PIJ and Islamic extremism? Do you think there is real hope for coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians? Dalia, you're very welcome.
It's a beautiful question. Actually, the big issue here is that there is nothing called Palestinian in terms of, there is nothing called, like there is not one structure you can call a Palestinian. For example, you can, when I tell you like Egyptian, a certain perception of Egyptian will come to your mind. If I tell you even American, a certain perception of American will come, Israeli, you know, and so on. But for the Palestinians, it's hard to define who they are, you know, exactly. Like, what is their common identity? So over time, their common identity have become violent resistance and sense of victimhood. To Israel, and not only to Israel, but victimhood to the West, the imperialist West that wants to destroy them. You know, it's an accumulation of generations of communist ideology, Islamist ideology. It's a horrible mix of all the bad ideologies you can think of that build this identity of violent resistance and victimhood among the Palestinians. And this has become the one thing that unified them. If you remember, Mariam at the beginning spoke about the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, and how they wreaked havoc in Jordan and then wreaked havoc in Lebanon. Not because they wanted, for example, to occupy these countries, but because it is their identity. It's their work, violent resistance. And for this same reason, Jordan and Egypt right now does not want to receive the Palestinians because they know very well that once they will open the border to them, they will destroy Egypt, destroy Jordan, rather than, thinking about building their own state. The same thing, or the same, also an important component of this Palestinian identity of violent resistance and victimhood is that they don't care at all about building, they only care about destruction. They don't care about building a Palestinian state as much as they care about destroying the Israeli state. And as long as this, dynamic is existence, it's impossible to imagine that these people would want peace. But speaking about women in particular, I think, and from Gazan women that I know personally, many of them are just like any other women. They are dreaming of peace, dreaming of a place where they can live in peace. They don't have to send their children to Hamas ranks, or their teenager children to be taken by Hamas and trained into becoming militants because they are too poor and they need the money. So they sell their children to Hamas knowing that they will be killed. And also, even the Gazan women who want to get out of this, and actually some of them even joined the movement that's called Badna Naish, We Want to Live, that appeared in Gaza in 2022. It was a movement by just public people who came out against Hamas, including women, including youth in particular, who just rejected this violent identity that Hamas is trying to capitalize on to promote their Islamic agenda. So what happened is that even these women who did not want, to give away their children for jihad or so, they were shamed by the society. They were blamed for not doing that, for not giving their children away to be killed in Hamas ranks or fight for a cause that they don't even believe in. So the women there are in a big, big dilemma, really, women and youth, I think, in particular, because they don't have a, escape. They don't have a way to go out. But unfortunately, still, education is very important. De-radicalization is extremely, extremely important, but it's a process that will take years and years. And the first step in this process to succeed is to get Hamas out of Gaza, which I believe should be like the central topic, the main topic about any conversation about the future of Gaza in the coming years.
I want to say thank you. I've actually met you at an ETI event in North Jersey, near Cherry
Yes.
Hill. Yes. So anyway,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you. You're
you.
such a great advocate, and I'd love to talk more with you. You can email me.
you.
I think I have your card.
Yes, please.
So
I will
you.
send you my email, and I would love to
Thank
remain
you.
in contact.
Thank you.
Of
Let's.
course,
Thanks.
of
I
course.
work with the Simon Wiesenthal Center, so thank you.
Amazing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I see that as a question.
Yes, it's not a question, but it's just a comment. My name is Dr. Manorma Gupta, and I'm President of United Nations of America, USA Long Beach chapter, as well as I'm President of Global Peace Foundation, Inc. And we strongly believe in women's empowerment. And I have a different view because why we are fighting? there are few fanatic religious people who poison our mind. We are all one children of God. There is a one God. Yes, you can have your religion, Muslim religion, Hindu religion, Christian religion, you know, uh, Israeli religion, whatever we are. You want to pray from inside, that's fine. But keep in mind, we are all one. We should respect each other, and until and unless we will change our mindset, which I hope the young generation can do it, for the young generation, that they will believe that we are all one, we can live together. You can you can pray your religion, you can believe in your religion, but as long as you think that we are all brothers sisters and we should care for each other. Anybody's child who dies is everybody's child, right? Anybody's parents whom somebody is killing are like our own parents. So until unless we change this, yes, we can create the peace right now, but you have to change the mindset that Israeli and Palestinian and Lebanese and everybody can live together in their own place, and you respect the religion, you go and share with their religion. See, I'm from originally from India. I'm in USA for about what 40, 50 years, and I have a very broad minded. I feel my religion is humanity. I don't care, and I go and support each and every religion. Why I'm here today? I have my best friend, Dr. Lisa Rothman, and she's a president of this National Jewish Women's Association. I'm not seeing her over here, so I'm surprised, but she's the one who sent me, and I'm really impressed with all your young generations' mind and how they are trying to work together. You know, in America also, all these people are fighting. Oh, this these are the Palestinian people and these are the Israeli people, and we should fight with each other and we should protest for each other. No, why are you doing it? Because their parents are there in their mindset. They feel that we are separate and Israelis are separate and everything. They don't feel that they are friends with each other. They don't feel that they should protect each other. And that's the mindset I think we all have to change to live together. If we won't change that, for temporarily you can do whatever you want, but in the long run, this war will stop right now. But after a few years, if you have the same temperament and same mentality that we two are different and we should attack each other, you will keep on doing it.
You're
That's
so right.
and I really feel I was very, very impressed, and I'm still very impressed with you. And I hope I'm going to call all of you from UNA USA Long Beach chapter to give your all these experiences to let other people know how you feel, because people have an impression that you all are, narrow-minded. Oh, I'm Palestinian, so I'm going to be Palestinian. I'm going to support them. As long as the religion will teach you to kill other person, I don't believe in that kind of religion. The religion should teach all of us to live together, to respect each other. Let somebody pray whatever they want to, other pray whatever they want to. I go to every religion and celebrate with them, and I'm so happy. That's why I know a lot of people. I just did the Women's Leadership Summit. We just finished last weekend, and one of the panelists was Dr. Lisa Rockman, and there were such young ladies, talented, intellectual ladies. They gave their opinion how they can empower women, and we really want to empower all the girls and women. And whenever you need help, just count on me. I will be there for you.
Well, thank you so much. I want to jump in here. This is Antonia. I had a question to all of you. We have to speak about the future, and I'm glad that you're optimistic. You are locally knowledgeable. You know better, and we are just inspired by your optimism. What are your plans for the work of Sharaka in the future? What instruments, what advocacy you're going to use in the future, each of you?
So I think I'll speak on behalf of Sharaka and as an organization, but Mariam, Dalia, and Fatma, I'd love for you to kind of jump in with extra insights. I think one thing that we've seen since October 7th is more and more voices actually reaching out to us and saying, listen, this isn't in the name of our Islam from the Middle East. And one thing that we've realized is we really have a power to connect between people from different countries, from different backgrounds. And so Sharaka really started purely to do with Abraham Accords countries. And since we started, we've expanded and we now work with the whole MENA region as well. And it also started with delegations of, student leaders. And now we've reached out into student leaders, into teachers, into journalists, into people that have, the ability to continue this message onwards within their own societies as well. And I think for us as an organization, one thing that we are looking forward to is also the ability to be able to do events and host these conversations on the ground within the Middle East as well. Within the Abraham Accords countries, obviously starting within those countries and growing from there, because I believe the more time we speak and the more time we host panels and we have an audience from the Middle East, it's when we actually have so many people that come to us after and just say, thank you. I didn't know this was possible. And it opens their eyes to something that they didn't even know existed, because in their realm of news and the social media feed that they see, they don't see voices coming together to unite others. And really what Sharaka is trying to do is bring together those voices to unite other people together. And I think that's something that we as an organization are growing and hoping to do as well.
So to me, actually, I do believe in the power of social media, and I do believe that most of the people consume their information, unfortunately, from social media. We are constantly on our phones, whether we want it or not. And I saw how when me and Fatme and Alisa were in the same video saying, I'm a Jewish, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, how people reacted and how our videos went viral and how hopeful people were, because we are normalizing a conversation that like it seems sometimes because of the media and the extremist news we see all the time, that it's impossible, that we must hate each other because she's Muslim, because she's Jewish, because she's from Israel, because she's from here and there. And then when we do it together and do these videos together and we show the beauty of the cultures we have and how actually similar we are, and how we are friends, and we do like, we literally made a video about me lenting, the Christian Lent, and Fatma is fasting Ramadan, and at the same time, and this video just exploded, and people were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then we had another video showing me and Alisa and Fatma again going to a church together. People want to see these subjects normalized. They want to see that we can actually live together, that we actually can respect each other. And for me personally, I do see Sharaka going there and being this voice of bringing people from different backgrounds in the Middle East, Palestinians, Israelis, Bahraini, and so on and so on, all of them together, just showing that we are indigenous to the land. We are all, no one of us is going anywhere, and we have to do it together, and we need to fight this radicalism together. So that's how I see it.
This is so beautiful, Mariam. Can you post in the chat some links to the social media, maybe?
I can share with that now. Yeah. Does anyone have another question?
I don't have a question. I posted on the chat. I just think the work you're doing is fabulous. As I said in my message, I covered the region. I'm a little bit older, but covered the region years, for quite some time, and starting in Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan, missing one. Anyway, and also Israel. And it's just fascinating, and so honored to have been able to cover all, because you really realize that it is the moderate voice that needs to win out, and it is about dialogue, and it is about education. The one thing that worries me, we talked about radical press, and I'm an American I live in the UK now, but an American by birth, and there's one name will probably not be a big secret. News channels, particularly in the US, I'm thinking of one, that you only get a one-sided story. So I have, my father who's, in his 80s, only gets fed news from one particular source, which it isn't based on fact, it isn't based on history, it isn't based on education. And I think that's what a lot of people, particularly speaking from a US perspective, are hearing, and they need to have this education of that it does belong to everyone. And I think it would just make such a big difference. I think it is radicalizing people beyond what it needs to. But I thank you. The voices are, and I'd love to connect with all of you and follow more of your work. It really is truly inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. And I think I just want to leave everyone here with a little story that happened just last month, which I think is really the outcome that we always want when we host these panels. We were in Rice University in Austin, Texas, and at the end of our panel, someone came up to me, and she was a religious, veiled woman from Sudan. And she said to me, "I just want you to know, you're the first Israeli Jew I've ever met in my life." And the fact that if the first Israeli Jew I ever met in my life was on a panel with 3 Muslims changed my whole perception of everything, because I didn't grow up in a world where I was taught that this is possible. And 3 days later, I open up my Instagram and I see a message from her. And she says to me, "Elisa, I want you to know that I went to my friends and I went to my student groups and I told them that, you know what, maybe we don't know everything. Just because I showed up to your event, even though I wasn't sure I was going to, and I listened and I sat there and I saw people with different opinions being able to talk." And I think this is the message that we want to spread, a message of dialogue, a message of coexistence. And at the end of the day, it's by bringing these voices together and by us being able to share our own individual stories and the story of Sharaka and how really bringing together these moderates is going to change the future for us all. And so thank you very, very much for coming. And Antonia, we're so grateful for you for sharing this platform with us in order for us to be able to share this message.
Well, at this point, we want to ask, do we have any other questions? You can unmute yourself and jump in with any questions or comments. We'll post also probably contact information in the chat for those of you that would like to invite Sharaka. I can say for myself and my organization that we are very inspired by Sharaka's work and will continue to promote you and your efforts. But we invite everybody else to take part of that, because it's not only to those living in Middle East, it's up to all of us to facilitate this dialogue and make it more visible, especially now when the stakes are so high. Do we have any other questions? I see Elisa posted in the chat her contact information. Wow, it's amazing that you were able to keep everybody almost without exceptions staying here throughout this dialogue. Thank you for sharing your incredible stories. We'll be watching your work in the future, and again, promote it with whatever we can. Thank you so much, very inspiring. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you at our next events. Thank you for being a great audience. Thank you for your hopes and for your help to bring peace to Middle East.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.